Ecologist Chris Dickman joins us now live from Sydney, Australia. Good to have you on the show, Chris. These pictures are harrowing of these animals. Tell us, how much of a hit has this been on the animals? And we've heard that some may face extinction. How bad could this be?
We don't know yet how many species are likely to become extinct, but the list of 113 species is a list of the species that are currently at most risk of extinction. Among those species are small things like a skink that occurs only in the Blue Mountains, another one that occurs further north in the Great Dividing Range, the Kangaroo Island dunnart, species that have had virtually all of their known geographical range burned in the fires.
And Chris, Australia is an island, so explain to us, these animals, they need to find food, find shelter. What happens next for them, and what do they need?
Yeah, the real problem is that when the fire goes through, it removes all of their resources. So some animals will be critically short of food, and as a consequence of being on the list of 113, species have been identified as being most at risk of starvation. So these are subject to food drops, and something like the rock wallabies, the brush-tailed rock wallabies, are in this category. Other species are critically short of water. Others are critically short of shelter. And for small species, these are going to be particularly at risk of being eaten by feral cats and red foxes. And for those species, we'll need to find means of trying to reduce the likelihood of predation. So there are some...
Chris, you know, we've seen the pictures that we've seen a lot of are the koalas, the wallabies, but an interesting point is that fish have been affected by fires. Explain how that has happened.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one. Both fish and crayfish that you wouldn't normally expect to be in the path of the fire are actually affected indirectly, and they might be affected even in areas a long way from where the fires are burned. And that's simply because when the fires stop and the rains come, a lot of the ash and the debris from the fires gets washed into the river systems and the lakes. So species that are really dependent on good quality fresh water and invertebrate food resources that the waterways contain are going to be at great risk of having the water contaminated and polluted by the after effects of the fires.
And Chris, the government has received a lot of criticism for their handling of these bushfires, and how are they helping these animals now?
So $50 million has been allocated. A lot of it is going towards immediate rehabilitation and recovery, and the rest to mid-term and longer-term recovery, which will be a great help for many of the species in need.
Chris, thank you so much. Chris Dickman joining us live from Sydney, Australia. Appreciate your time and your views.